How are we?
A lot of things,
Okay.
but I am here.
Love that for us.
Love that for us. Did you know that it's been 2 years since the last reading?
Like to the day or in the month or same week.
Like almost to the day.
Of course it is.
Mhm.
Of course it is.
Yeah, my brain was like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's just been a year. Like, we got back around to it because the name change thing, and like it kind of was that. But then I was like, wait, no, I was still living with my ex, which was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm not even a little bit surprised.
It just in the universe cock blocking us on getting the reading done when we've tried to do it.
Yeah.
And it just not
No, you're gonna
being,
wait.
yeah, just not being the time.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain a little bit about the new way of getting into the Akashic Record since we're recording it?
I mean, I can. I don't know if it's going to work for everybody. Like, I don't know what that looks like on a mass scale anymore, very
Mhm.
honestly. So, what I do is funny enough, and it's like wasn't even intentional. It's just what's kind of happened, and now it's become my routine is I go outside in the sun before like 15 minutes before I do a reading. And I stand out in the sun and I call in Archangel Michael and I talk to him and like, excuse me, remove my ego, remove my feelings. What's meant to come through is for, in this circumstance, your highest good, your healing, and for the highest good of the planet and the healing of the planet, right? And so it's along those same lines. Are the words that I exchange with him or like the opening of it the same every single time? No. Is there the consistent parts are me being outside in the sun, standing there for a minute, dropping into my heart, dropping into the earth, having a conversation with him, and then being like, okay, now they're open. And then I come inside and I'm like, okay, let's go. Like we're ready, they're open. So it's not like this whole um not long drawn out process, but like the prayer that it used to be, where I would sit there and read from the book and, they're now open, that kind of a thing. Now it's much quicker, much more concise, and it's more of a direct conversation between me and the angels
Mhm.
to open them up.
Yeah. It feels more intuitive for you already, like from the
Well,
difference of 2 years ago to now.
yeah, and I think that has also come with the time and the practice,
Hmm.
along with the records dropping to earth, right?
That's what
So,
I was meaning, because the new way of accessing them, it's stuff
yeah.
has changed.
Yeah. And so it's before it was, I could do it and the information that was coming through was intuitive. But now, like you said, like the entire thing for me is intuition based. Like I didn't wake up and was like, what, the way to access the records is to go outside in the sun and have a conversation. Like, no, the first time that I read them since the change happened, that's what I did. And then the second time I did that and I was like, okay, we're developing a pattern here. And
Hmm.
it's funny because I didn't even notice I did this, but I was just on the phone with Forrest like 20 minutes ago. And I just walked outside and moseyed outside into the sun. And I'm standing there and we get off the phone and I'm like, holy fuck, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, all right, we're opening them now, I guess.
Higher
So,
self Bree is like, we go outside now, we connect.
so I was like, okay, here, you did it. It was time to open them. Um, so I just got a good kick out of that earlier.
I love
Mhm.
that they're in the earth now. Like when you had that first knowing when you came, like you intuitively already knew, but then when
Mhm.
Sonia came in and was like, and by the way, this is
Yeah.
the new way that it happens, that was right when we were trying to do my reading. And then, yeah, Universe was like, yeah, no, like redo it. Like, I don't even know. Like, it was the second time we tried. And then when it shit changed, Universe was like, not yet, Kelsey.
Yeah. So it's like we still have more that we both need to get through before we get to this place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I Stuff has been coming through like the last few days and I could feel it. Like last night, even when we were texting, I was like, don't say that now, save that for the records. And I was like, wow, okay, we're right there.
And I guess that's how you know too, because we tried to schedule even just 2 weeks ago and it didn't happen. So
Yeah.
then it wasn't like, I guess now you know when you're getting little messages even before the reading's scheduled.
Yeah, it's happened the last, I would say, handful of times before I've read for somebody. Oh, excuse me. A day or two before I start getting information and I'm like, okay, this is for the reading, this is for the reading. And I'm able to kind of differentiate telling them then versus like, nope, hold this back and wait for it to come through kind of a thing.
Mm.
So
Yay for discernment skills.
it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Yep. So I guess before I word vomit all over you, do you have questions that you want to ask to get started? How do you want me to do this? Or do you want me to start and then you ask questions at some point? How do you want to navigate this?
So this is hilarious. I forgot that whole fucking component. But the other times that I was trying to do the reading, I had all this shit written down. But as I show up today, I fucking forgot about the question thing that I was supposed to have the questions.
Right. That's also, I didn't say anything to you about that. So we're not meant to have any questions today.
Yep.
So,
Well, fuck me.
okay, I'm just going to fucking go for it then.
All right.
Um, Grief. And yeah. Stay open, hear what I have to say. Um, is it looks different for everybody. It's not always the same, right? So it's a lot of people think of grief in terms of like, I have lost someone in the physical sense of like they have passed or whatever verbiage they want to use. However, as humans, we are constantly grieving things without really realizing it. And it could be like, a new start, right? Like we're grieving the old start. Us, a new version of ourselves, we're grieving the old version, and losing a relationship. However, we're looking to grieve in that season. It's very real. And I think that a lot of people have a tendency to get caught up in, oh, I've grieved this situation is over. It's never coming back up again. I will never have contact with this person again. And I don't know why I'm laughing so, but like, it's comical, I guess, to say that that is the end all be all because we grieve that thing, right? And it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to like mourn that loss, and at the same time still staying open, which is, and I know you and I have had this conversation a lot, is keeping your heart open to things, people, experiences, whatever that looks like for you in that moment, right? Um, can I tell you, I have burped more right now since we've been on Zoom than I have all day today. So I'm
That's a
like,
thing for you. I don't know.
it is, and it's like clearing to like make more room or whatever for like
Okay,
information.
yeah.
I don't know. I okay, and I don't think I said this, so I want to preface this now. I will not tell you what to do. I'm not going to say, Kelsey, you have to do this. Kelsey, your only two options are A or B, right? It's here are potentialities or maybe something that you don't see, but it's never going to be like, do this, right? Because then I'm not going to take your power away. That's all you, girlfriend. Do it is in your highest good. So it could be possible that situations or circumstances that you have grieved before are going to come back up. And it's like a joke, right? It's your ex comes back to see if you're still stupid. Like that. And I just saw that meme yesterday to be like, are you still a fucking idiot? Because this person you didn't like and you didn't align. So like, are you going to let them come back in your life and sneak in? Right. And so,
But that's contradictory to the heart openness thing that you said.
however, keep your heart open, but that doesn't mean you have to let the same situation play out.
Mm.
That's the parallel, right? Is that, yes, somebody could come back into your life to see, have you really learned that lesson? But that doesn't mean that you have to be mean or a bitch or shut them out or not talk to them, right? It's check in with yourself. What is in alignment for you? And, maybe it's just saying hi on the street if you see them. Or maybe they send you a text message and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to respond because I don't want to go down that path. But you can still keep your heart open in that circumstance, right? Without shutting yourself off. Or it could be, using the same analogy, like an ex comes back and you're like, you know what, I grieved that. I thought you weren't coming back. Maybe a friendship is in order, right? So it's like, just keep yourself open to the possibility. But it's like that great cosmic joke that we keep talking about is like the universe is fucking jokes. It does, right? Like it's just, some things are a little bit more serious than others, but overall the whole overarching thing is like it's playful and it's fun, and don't get caught up in the seriousness of it all, because that's when you start to take everything too seriously, is when a lot of people start to put a lot of pressure on things, and then it's then you stress yourself out, right? Because then it's like you're putting all this pressure on it. And yes, pressure makes diamonds and stuff like that. But like, give
Not in this
ourselves a little
situation.
grace.
It feels like the art of detachment.
Yeah, very much so. Recognizing that we are still on earth to learn, and that's the foundation of the majority of everything, is lessons, whether it be good or bad, the way our human brain likes to kind of polarize them, but at the end of the day, they're all for our highest good, is just these lessons. And it's not to take them too seriously, not to put too much pressure on other things or yourself, and just let it be, however that looks like, right? Because there's a line between co-creating and force. Because when we are co-creating and you're trying to bring things about, looking for a new place to live, right? We're dealing with other things outside of our control at the end of the day, because we can only do so much as human beings. And so it's like, show up with your intention, show up with your why, and then let the universe do the heavy lifting. And it's going to take you to a place even better than you expected or were originally hoping for, because our human mind can't conceive of all of that. I feel the need to pause.
My heart feels heavy.
Okay.
I think it's just the grief topic.
Yeah. I mean, grief is heavy, and I feel like as a society, we have like boxed it in to like, oh, you have 5 weeks to grieve. You have to be done grieving this circumstance. If it's going on for 2 years, that's way too long. Get your fucking shit together. What are you doing? Right. And it gives me the chills. It's like there's no set time frame. And I think it is going to continuously come in waves. Right. And that doesn't mean that you are still holding on. That doesn't mean that you haven't moved forward. That doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It's just, hey, you are a different version of you who it gets the opportunity to experience that grief and still let that go in a different kind of way that you didn't have the opportunity to do before because you weren't this person in this circumstance. Right. And so it's one, don't get caught up in the have the awareness to see if you're getting caught up in, oh, it's been a certain amount of time, I should let this go. Right. The second thing is you can give yourself the grace to feel these feelings again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, for me, what's coming through is like equating it to falling in love or loving somebody, because you're going to be hit over the course of relationships with people with massive waves of like, holy fuck, I fucking love you. Like, oh my God, like this overwhelming sense of love, right? And it's like a polarization. It's the duality of it is sometimes you're just going to get hit with the overwhelming sense of grief. You lost something, whatever that was, a person, a circumstance, an opportunity, whatever, right? And I say lost in the sense that it's no longer in your field at the moment. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be like lost forever. But I don't want that to get mixed with like, oh, I missed an opportunity that I really should have done, right? Because I'm a firm believer in what's meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you if you're out there doing the work, right? You can't be like a passive bystander and be like, oh, that missed me, that wasn't meant for me. It's like, well, it could have been because you weren't doing the action things, right? But that's a different story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's boxing yourself into other people's ideas of grief and what that looks like, and then projecting that, letting it being projected onto you, and then taking that on as your own when, maybe it's going to take 5 years. Who knows? People grieve family members for lifetimes. People that lose children. My mom lost her brother very young. She still grieves him. And it's been, how old am I? 32? 32 years. So it's like to say that, oh, you only have an X amount of time to grieve. Like, I think that's bullshit. And if it's coming up, I think it's there to teach us something. And everybody's lesson is going to be different. There's not like a cookie cutter of like, oh, grief is going to teach you detachment. Grief is going to teach you deeper love. Like maybe yes, but maybe your lessons in the grief are different than mine and are different than somebody else's.
Yeah, it's just weird because most of my grief is, like you said, like life shifts or opportunities being like quote unquote taken away, or people just no longer in my orbit. Like all the things no longer in my orbit, but they all are still existing and alive. So it's not
Yes.
like grief from like a death. It's been that, so that is kind of what is like this is just, yeah, like you said, different than what people normally perceive grief as or experience it as such.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it kind of is a death, especially when it's, excuse me, like a former version of yourself. Because that person had to fully die to be who you are now. And that can be hard for people to contend with because it's like you've been one way for so long and now you're a completely different person, right? So not only are you grieving, but the people around you are also having to grieve the person that you were because, whether you're now setting boundaries, whether you're now, into religion, whether you're now, into your growth, however that looks like, it's different for the other people around you as well. And so it can kind of have a ripple effect, right? It's like it's not like a solitary thing. It's not because there's usually more people involved, right?
Mhm.
And so I think there, for you specifically, I think there are very potent lessons coming through of like what you have the opportunity to learn and do with it and take from it. And I mean, take from like the situation, the heavy heart, right? Which actually makes so much sense because last night I was going to bed and my heart hurt so much and I couldn't figure out why. And I was like what is this? And that's what it was. So I was feeling your heavy heart because I knew it wasn't mine,
Mhm.
uh, because it felt like detached from me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You have options. I know you like to journal. I know you're really into feeling your feelings, but I feel like a good cry,
That was
just
last
like
night. I cried so much snot came out of my nose.
clearing,
Like
you're clearing all the things.
it was a lot. Like I don't think I've cried that hard in a long time. And I had a therapy session yesterday too. And my art therapist was like, she just stared at me and was like, "When's the last time you cried?" And I'm like, "I cry a lot." But then I realized it has actually been a minute since I cried. And then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, here it is."
Mhm.
Because she brought in stuff to make the wings, and I'm staring at the wings and then like losing my fucking shit.
Mm,
And it wasn't time to make the wings yet because I was grieving
yeah.
a person. I don't know if I should say her name. She's given me consent to say her name and do all the things, so, but I don't even know.
And that's okay. You don't have to right now.
But yeah,
That's
that's what, like, she came up and then I was grieving her, and that's where, like, then I came home. I was like driving home crying the whole time, came home and cried for like an hour straight, and it was just like it all kept coming out. And I haven't been hit with that wave of grief involving her for like a little bit. I mean, it has come in waves, but yeah, that one hit hard.
yeah. And that's okay. And you're clearing space, right, in your physical body. When you release all of that, is you're clearing out the space for new, right? Maybe it's new experiences, maybe it's new people, maybe it's new feelings, maybe it's new light in your body. It could be a plethora of things, but it's any release is creating space.
Mm-hmm.
And, it could be something as small as tears, right? And so you're still letting go. And that's okay. I think that's really strong because it's hard, and you could just like curl up in the fetal position in a ball and just cry for hours and then get up and be like, okay, let's keep going, but you still are letting yourself feel the feelings and process and everything like that.
Yeah, I think that's what feels really overwhelming, and I can feel that in my heart. I guess now my heart feels like more expansiveness now. Like earlier it was heavy, and now it feels like it's expanding. Allowing myself to feel this grief with her, then I had the knowing like right after, like almost immediately after, of how much space it's creating
Hmm.
for a love to come in, and knowing how that love was so great,
Yeah.
and then now it's not here, so then it's creating space for other things to come in. um So yeah, I already had that knowing that it was creating space, which is what can also be a little daunting too, is like, oh, like we already know how this feels, and if it's creating more space for an even bigger love to come in, like shit.
That gives me the chills because that's what I'm seeing
Yeah.
is a huge big love, right? And it's that could be in a multitude of capacities,
Hmm.
right? But it's almost like something you didn't know was possible kind of love. And giving you the opportunity to further deepen the love for yourself, right? Because it's, and this is one of the only things I agree with The Secret is the like attracts like, right? You have to love yourself in order to attract people in your life that also love you. And you're being gifted this opportunity to deepen both of those, your capacity to hold love for others and your capacity to hold love for yourself. And that's stretching so fucking big. Like like when you stretch something and just gets thinner and thinner because you're stretching it so big, like that's what I see. Like it's getting so thin, but it's stretching and then it's going to grow. And then you stretch it and it's so thin and it grows, right? So now it's not like this flimsy thing, like this flimsy what fucking stretches slime or whatever.
That's what
Chloe
I
plays
see is like slime.
yeah, Chloe plays with slime, so I'm like, that works. So it's, slime gets really thin, but then when you hold it and hold it and wait, then it starts growing and bigger, right? So it's like this is going to be similar, is you're stretching your love and then it grows because you have that capacity to hold it. And then you stretch it and it grows because you have that capacity to hold it. That's what I'm seeing for you. If you gift yourself the opportunity, right? That's like what I don't want us to forget is, and I'm not saying this applies specifically to you. I'm just saying like in general of like again, not to be passive, right? Like get out there and do the work. That doesn't necessarily mean like you have to go get up and hit the freaking pavement every day and knock on 20 doors to sell a vacuum. It's what work can you do in order to achieve your goal along with the world and the universe to help you get to where you want to go.
Hmm.
I feel
Why
like
do
you
you
might have
look at me like that?
because I feel like you might have a question. Like I feel like I see a stop sign. It's like pause.
Oh, no, I just know that 2022 was like all of that. Like she kickstarted all the grief that followed in 2022. So many people came in, so many people left, so many opportunities came in, so many opportunities left. And then at the end of it all, at the end of 2022, I was still left with nothing, but yet all of 2022 was coming and going, coming and going, coming and going, and then clean slate after clean slate. And then now it's like I feel stuff coming in, but I feel it landing.
So almost like the things landed but didn't stick. And
Yes.
so now it's like, okay, now we're ready for you're ready for this in your reality to stick.
Yeah.
It's again the grief, right? It's okay to let things go. People, situations, circumstances, opportunities, if they're not aligned for you anymore. And we have this notion that the longer you have something, better for you. And it's like, that's a really detrimental way to think about things because it might be the most toxic, awful situation that you're in, but you've been there for 10 years. So pat on the back, happy 10-year anniversary. It's like, no, fuck that, And so it's getting comfortable in the unknown, getting comfortable with letting things go, getting comfortable with the detachment, getting comfortable knowing that every time you let something go, something better is going to take its place. Now, that's not to say that like you're better than me, right? It's something better suited for you, something more aligned for you, and it's difficult, but I think that's why a lot of people don't shoot the freaking messenger, but like that's why a lot of people stay in shitty relationships or shitty friendships or shitty
Mm.
situations because, well, I'm not going to get better or I already have this. And it's like, okay, well, then stay with the thing that you hate. Stay in the thing that you dislike. Stay in the thing that you can't stand. Stay in the thing that's good enough. Right.
Mm.
And I know you're not here for a good enough life. Like you're here for reach for the fucking sky, shoot for the moon, get the stars kind of a life. And with that, unfortunately, slash fortunately, is going to be the polarity of love and grief.
Hmm.
Gives me the chills.
Yeah.
I see a lot of blue around you again, but this time it's like a darker blue. I like, it's like a royalty thing, like a royalty color for you. Also, I'm shifting gears very quickly, so let me pause before I continue. Do you want to talk any more about that before I go? Just snowflowers through this.
Um, that was just the last thing that me and him said to each other as when I was letting him go was like, I'm choosing, I didn't come here to choose a good life. Um, which is why the reading didn't happen the first time because we got blocked because I hadn't fully let him go yet.
Yeah.
But then it's like I feel myself so grounded in the like being content in the grieving and letting him go and that's okay that he's no longer in my orbit. But then it was also like you said, just a LOL funny fucking game universe of the oh, but keep your heart open in case people come back. And I'm like, these fucking people is what cracked it open in the first place. So what do you mean? And I was specifically instructed to let them go. So then it's just like, fuck you, universe. Now they got to let them back in, or be open to the possibility for it to happen. That's where that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how much compassion can you hold for people who feel like they, you know, totally rocked your world, right? Because we could blame them and say they changed the trajectory of your life, they changed these things. But at the end of the day, we all make choices, right? And soul contracts are a real thing. Like I am 125% of the belief that before we got here to Earth, you and I sat up in the cosmos or fucking something, having a conversation like, this is how it's going to go down, right? This is the outline of our relationship. These are the things that we can go and teach each other. We're going to find each other and we're going to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And so we have those all over the place. And so, you could take the, again, passive route of blaming the people and saying, you changed my life, you ruined our friendship, you ruined our relationship, or take more of an active approach and saying, you know what, I know we agreed to this. Thank you for the time that we spent together. Thank you for the lessons that I'm no doubtedly going to take from this, right? Because example, you don't break up with a partner and then wake up the next day. Usually, I'm not going to always say don't, but usually wake up the next day with like a hallelujah moment of the plethora of things that they taught you, right? Again, the grief, the learning, it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
My revelations usually come like a few weeks to a few months, maybe even a few years later, because hindsight, you can always see things differently. And so it's tongue tied. I just got tongue tied.
But I mean, so with uh yeah, with him just now listening to this, like I'm reminded of like I was told phases.
Yeah.
But yet I'm not fully accepting the phases if I don't fully accept the grief and the letting go and being okay with the no longer being the orbit, because then I'm not fully in that phase
Mm-hmm.
for anything to return. Because that would be a new phase. It'd be like a completely grieving and like you're no longer in this orbit, or I may never see you again or talk to you again in this lifetime. That's a phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to like fully be in that for the openness of like the new phase of people coming back into the orbit. But it can't be like a half in, half out of like clinging to like I hope you come back. Like no, that has to be gone for that even to other shit to happen. That's why it's just a fucking joke because I feel myself and felt myself getting there, and then you fucking say that. I'm like, whatever. I hate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I feel resisted. I was like, no, I like which it would be a heart opener. It's like, no, I don't want you fucking back. I worked so hard to let you go. What the hell?
Yeah.
Both of them, bitches.
And again, it's how much compassion can you hold?
Yeah.
Which, joke's on you, LOL, your career path of wanting to work with a certain population of people is going to require
A lot of compassion.
a whole fuck ton of compassion. And if you find yourself in a circumstance where you work with this population, someone cycles out and comes back, I've already fucking helped you. We already did the work.
Mm-hmm.
No. How much compassion can Kelsey hold in helping those people that cycle back through?
My pro bono client cycled back through, so that's what that eye roll is, and I just started seeing them again. So
Oh, okay. I love that for you.
yeah,
The universe
yeah,
has fucking jokes. It really does.
and it's within the population of having the compassion for. So
Okay.
yeah,
See, you're being gifted the opportunity in multiple places in a very similar time frame. And it's like not a smack, but like a big breeze, like just slammed the door and was like, fucking Kelsey, pay attention. That's what it feels like.
we're
To
back
like
at that
space
phrase,
you
the
are.
pay attention. Okay, I'm ready for the royal blue thing.
Great, because I just saw a knot tying, like fucking tie it in a knot, Brianna. It's that blue color, and I know when which LOL jokes on us, but which is this is the color that I see.
Mm.
Is I know when we did your last reading, it was more of like a turquoisey, like pretty blue, right? Like this is gonna be ridiculous, but this is the blue that I see that reminds me of it. But like your file folders on your Mac desktop, blue. I can't see your desktop. I see my desktop. That's
I
why I'm
was
thinking
like, what the fuck?
they naturally default to blue.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was the original blue that I saw. Now I'm seeing like this blue, but this reminds me of like royalty, like a you can't fuck with me kind of a feeling. Like I've got my crown on, I've got my head so high, but again, not being I'm up here and you're down here,
Mm-hmm.
just I know my worth. I know what I bring to the table. I know what I bring to the conversation. I know my value and I'm not coming down for anybody. I will meet you here or I will not. Yes. Of like, I see you walking with like a very good posture. And I'm not saying you don't, but this is just what I see. I don't think I've actually ever seen you walk, so I don't know. But weird. Very
Well,
good.
we've never met in person, so that's not that weird that you haven't seen
That's
me
fair.
walk.
That's fair. But like how brides kind of like slowly walk down an aisle? Like that's what I see, but I don't see you. I see you from the side, walking from left to right with like your head held very high, just like in a very deep blue color. I don't know if it's like a long dress or if it's like robes or what. And I don't mean like a bathrobe, right? But like long, like wisdom mystic robes.
Mm.
Um, and you're on your way to something, but like that is the energy that you embody and you are turning heads. Like people are paying attention to you, people see you as you go by, and that's not your intention is to be like a showstopper or an eye catcher, but like people can't help it because you're so steadfast in who you are, what you bring to the table. You know your worth, you know your value, and people are going to meet you or they're not, and maybe a circumstance comes where you're here and you think someone meets you here, but you find out like maybe they're a little bit down here, and grieving that and then moving forward, right? Because what the left to right is like a constant moving forward. That doesn't mean that everything is going to happen linearly. You could be like all over the place, right? And then like come back and then circles, but there's a constant forward momentum of continuous growth, continuous learning, continuous evolution of you. And getting comfortable with the grief now for other people will make you more comfortable in grieving yourself, because I think that the depths of who you are or who you were might get a little bit more intense for a little bit, because it's going to be such rapid, huge evolutionary shifts that being comfortable now will make those easier because it's going to happen. And so, how much compassion can you hold for the others and yourself? How much love can you hold for others and yourself? How much grace can you give others and yourself in these circumstances? Even if it was like, maybe it's a misstep, right? And in the sense of like a situation comes up that you thought you worked through and you make a choice that maybe looking back, you're like, fuck, I wish I would have made that choice, right? But that's okay because you have grace and compassion for yourself. You have understanding. You're holding so much love for yourself that that was the road that you took, whether it was the direct route or the scenic route. Maybe it was a scenic route. Everyone likes a good scenic route. It doesn't mean it's wrong, but there's still always that forward momentum. I'm going to pause
Why?
just to let you process, and then I'm going to probably say more things.
My third eye and my actual eyeballs. I'm feeling things in my eyeballs, like I don't know.
Like new vision, like new sight, seeing new opportunities, seeing new things, being open to see new things from a different perspective. That's what it feels like. Like a new perspective, like you're seeing
Mm,
new things. The world, the way that you look at the world is shifting.
yeah. And then, I mean, just that misstep or like that analogy that you gave, or like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that, but then that's the opportunity to show so much love to yourself. Like that's what happened with the whole um, situation in November,
Mm-hmm.
and like giving myself that unconditional love after choosing that, and then realizing like, oh, I like my body knew that that wasn't a safe person, but I didn't listen to my body.
Mm-hmm.
And then choosing it anyway. So then having compassion for myself for that choice and for that misstep and loving myself unconditionally. Like that was like that fucking landed hard.
Which is funny because I was just thinking about the chakras while you were telling me that, and every time you did this, you landed at your heart. Every time. You landed right there at your heart. And there's obviously that heart throat connection, and red, orange, yellow, green, blue throat, right? So um, there's something to compassion, opening your heart, keeping your heart open, but speaking up, not staying quiet, right? And that could be to yourself, to somebody else, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, you're hurting me. It could be in a plethora of ways, but not staying silent in ways where you want to speak up. And that could be in a good thing, in a room full of opportunities. Like, I'm interested. My name's
Mm,
Kelsey. Here I am. I would like this opportunity, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to have like a negative connotation to it. I see the scales more balanced in the positive direction of like, speak up for opportunities, speak up for yourself, speak up to be known, speak up to be heard, right? Even if it's you know what, no, right? Not right now, Kelsey. Or we've given it to someone else, or someone else is better suited for it.
mm.
Again, hold that compassion, hold that love, speak up, continue to speak up. Interesting. Um, Business opportunities is where this is feeling very much like.
As far as speaking up,
Yeah, like
yeah,
raising your hand, speak up, raise your hand. That's very much what I see. I very much see like you raising your hand, like pick me for something,
yeah,
or like I'm here, or do you understand what I'm saying? That kind of a thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, I've had a lot of business opportunities come to me the last couple weeks, and then you're dying.
so take a beat, drop into your heart. I just got really hot. Um, what you could do is speak up, raise your hand. Here I am. I'm here.
Uh-huh.
When it feels aligned. What I'm seeing is stepping back, taking a breath, feeling how it feels in your body, because I know you've spent a lot of time working on that connection of like how it feels for you. And then if you're like, yes, this feels good, then raise your hand, because it could be a situation or an opportunity that is perfect, but not aligned. So it could be a gold brick, but because it's not aligned with where you are right now, it's that match is going to be difficult. So the cough was very much to take a step, pause, and feel into it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I already see two scenarios in my head of like I said yes to all of them and I need to, or there's like two opportunities, said yes to both or saying yes to both, and one of them kind of it feels like the older identity of saying yes to, and one is the newer identity of saying yes to, even though I could do both opportunities.
Well, and it's kind of ties back into a few things that we talked about earlier. It's like a missed opportunity, right? So if you decide not to take the one that feels like an older identity, maybe you could grieve that. Maybe you need to grieve that, right? Because that ties into you not being the person who would have accepted that opportunity anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Again, it's not a better or worse situation. As humans, we have a tendency to polarize the fuck out of everything. And that's not like everything is neutral. And so it's, where you're going versus no, that's it, where you're going and which direction you want to go. And
Mm-hmm.
again, either the scenic route or the direct route, and neither one of them is wrong. Do you swim?
I used to swim. I like swimming.
I see you swimming.
Hmm.
Not in
What?
the beach though, in like a pool.
Oh,
Yeah, I see you swimming in a pool.
like a like a in what context?
For yourself, whether it brings you clarity or peace or whatever, but I see you swimming in a pool. But not like, oh, I'm underwater. I don't even know what the different swim type techniques are, right? But like not like this. Like I see you, whatever it is where you're like half on the water and your arms are going like this. I don't even know what
Mm-hmm.
that means.
Yeah.
But that's what I see. And it's like balance, peace, clarity, kind of whatever it brings for you. And kind of seeing how that fits into your routine.
Mm.
Which also LOL because water's blue, but whatever.
And there's a fuck ton of water in my chart.
Well, that's not an accident. Um, let's see. I think there's one more thing. Um, it's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. Time. If there's something that you have been waiting to do, it's time. I just see like people celebrating, like and singing like it's a fucking musical. Like it's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. Now's the time. So whatever it is, whether it's a new opportunity, whether it's a hard conversation, whether it's making like a shake up to your routine, um, whether it's like changing some, like changing the beach that you write at. Maybe that's it, but it's like a shake up, like a, not like an earthquake, but like a tremor, right? Like it's time for a little shake up. So if you've been thinking about just like making like a small minute change or even like a major change and it's not about the move, it's like something new that you've been thinking about or maybe that you had a dream about or something that's been like poking at your subconscious that you haven't fully acknowledged yet. But there's something there, like it's time. It's time. That's
I
what I see.
mean, the thing that comes to mind is letting go of the art therapy identity to go into the movement healer identity
Oh,
version of
which
self.
makes sense, right? Because movement, you're moving, it's like shaking the body.
Yeah, which is like a core thing of that is like shaking the body to drop into the body.
Yeah, that very well could be it. Why are you laughing?
It's I mean, I
What?
have things building, like the healing center is coming, and then there's going to be a lot of like it's like I'm not alone in it, so there's going to be a lot of opportunity for referrals and eyes to be seen for all of the healing practitioners in it. Because if it was just me alone, like I don't, that's why it wasn't like working the first time, because I was so isolative and I was focusing on just the art therapy. Like when I went to move away from the first place that I worked at and I was like really launching just creating light instead of contracting places, um I didn't get any new clients.
Mm-hmm.
like But then when the movement healer comes in, then all of a sudden just everything opens up.
Alignment.
But my day job is an art therapist.
Hmm. Hmm. Wake up.
Ah, ugh. I know
There's.
I can stay there. I can stay at one location and do the somatic movement.
Mhm.
It's so tricky because like I love working with art, but like I can feel that the therapist part of it has got to go. Like that's just the world and realm that's no longer it because
Mhm.
there's so many it boxes people in a way that they help people
Okay.
and limitations and like how I would do things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously take everything that I say with a grain of salt and do what feels right and best for you. Again, this is not like a Kelsey quit your job, you need a shake up kind of a thing, right? And I know you know that. I feel like I have to say it out loud, but it's like shake up in the sense of like if that is the path, small steps,
yeah.
right? The action to get to where you want to go. Again, we're not stepping back and being passive. We are having an active role in the things that we want, right? And that we're calling in. And so, maybe it's like you said, working at one of the places or whatever, right? Like however it feels aligned for you. I'm just like the conduit of information. Um, but again, never telling you like you have to do this, you have to do that, or like this decision's bad, this decision's good. It's how does it feel right for you? What does that mean for you? I can't tell you because I don't know. I'm not in your shoes. I'm not living your life, right? I can only tell you what I'm getting and the spirit guides are telling me. And but yeah, I see like small shake up or like shake things up, like a shake and bake, like you're shaking it, right? Um, but it's time for whatever you feel that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not always going to be comfy. So,
I mean, I felt that. Like, I felt already, it's like I don't have enough time in the day to be doing what I'm wanting to do. So, like, something needs to shift. Like, I can't be
yeah.
in a 9 to 5. I can't. Not for where I'm going, but like, I still need to be here and I enjoy parts of the job. So, it's just like the stepping stone. I don't know.
Yep. One step at a time. And again, back to we'll come full fucking circle, the grief of letting something go, moving into a new era, moving into a new version of yourself. Because like relationships, some things are only meant for a short period of time. And that's okay. Some things are meant for a longer period of time. Some things are meant for a whole lifetime, right? There's no, again, holding on to a relationship for 10 years because it's fucking toxic and you've been in it 10 years just because you're afraid. And so it's everything. And this sounds so weird, but like everything essentially has an expiration date, whether that be 3 months, 3 years, 30 years. We don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know why. It just, yeah, it's felt scary to let go of the art therapist identity fully. That's what's still like lingering.
So it feels like this is a good opportunity for you to exercise that grief and that compassion along with the relationships and circumstances, right? And can you hold compassion for yourself for, you know, the stories? I worked so hard. I went to school to become this. I spent so much money and so much time becoming this person, and I'm just going to fucking let it go.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we do and like what we achieve in this society, unfortunately, becomes our identity for better or worse. Right. And so it's getting caught up in that because of the time, because of the effort, right? But if we use that as our basis for things, then that's going to tell you, okay, let's say I worked 10 years to become a teacher. I have my teacher credentials, I'm working in a college, professor, whatever, right? I'm afraid to let go of that identity because I worked so hard. I put in so much time. I put in so much money. I put in so much effort, sweat, blood, tears, all of it. I'm grasping onto that with a fucking rope because I'm like, no, that's who I am. I am also, this is not real, just an example, right? But I'm also in a very shitty marriage. And I've been married for 20 years. But I spent so much time, so much energy. I put so much money at this because we've done couples therapy, we've done retreats, I've fucking thrown all the money at this because that's what I did. And I put all this time in. So I'm going to hold on to both because I'm afraid of losing them. Right. And so the point that I'm trying to make is there's a few, but one of them is how we do one thing is how we do everything. You've grieved relationships, you've grieved opportunities, you've left things with nothing, you've multiple things, right? And so I guess the question that I'll ask you is, are you going to hold on to something just because of the time, effort, and money that went into it when you know that it maybe has run its course? And you don't have to answer me, but I just want you to think about that. And I'm not saying that like it's easy. I don't want you to like think that that's what I'm saying. I feel like I'm giving you like a little bit of tough love right now, and like I mean it with like all the love, right? But I'll get off my soapbox. There is no but. That's all.
Yeah, no, it's just the confusion of like, which I know it's not true. I don't know. It's like weird. Like I have worked so hard for this, so it's like, oh, you earned this title to work with art in such a deep way. Then it's like, oh well, I still like art and I could still see myself working with art. I still like art is a part of my life. Like I wouldn't just stop creating and like using it to express my emotions and to tap in. But then it's like, oh fuck, am I allowed to do that without being an art therapist? And like that's just a story and a lot like that like that's the gatekeeping of like who says that you can't work with art. But yeah, just working with it with other people, but it wouldn't be a therapy session is the thing. And I already know that.
You get to make the rules. This is your life. You get to make all of the rules however you want them to go, however feels aligned for you. Because at the end of the day, if you're truly doing what's in your soul and in your heart to do and bring forth to the world, you're benefiting everybody, whether they are directly impacted by your work or not.
Mm-hmm.
You get to make all the rules, all of them. I mean, obviously not laws that like govern like not like society and things like that, right? But like the way things are true for you,
Mm-hmm.
you get to decide all of that. And that could be Kelsey's not an art therapist, but she does the fuck out of her art with her people, or maybe there's people that you do art with and people who never fucking touch a paintbrush with you. There's not like a mold that says, hey, Kelsey, if you do X, you have to do art. If you sit down and talk to someone, you have to do art like that. No. Maybe someone comes in and they play with Play-Doh during one of your time. And I don't want to call it a session because that's like a very therapeutic based word, right? But like your appointment, we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they sit down and you do your movement stuff and then they play with Play-Doh. Or maybe you come in, you do the movement, they integrate and they fucking leave. It's, again, who says? Who says?
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey says.
Yeah.
You say. You decide.
I have a couple questions. Just time. That has come up like a couple times. I know this, not the like, oh, it's time, like just like the concept of time and like the grandfather clock, like that coming back and being around.
It's like, have you, and this is a rhetorical question, right? So, but like, have you grasped the concept that time is not real? Have you grasped the concept that you can create, bend, and expand time to your will? And it's like, has that truly, truly hit you?
Mm.
Right. And so let me give you an example. I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but I was in a training, like I was leading a training session. Their lunch was from 11:30 to 12:30. I needed to drive 20 minutes to Bailey's house to watch the animals and stay the night there. I only had 1 hour. to do all of this. So what did I need to do? I needed to make the 20-minute drive. I needed to pack my shit because I was so fucking last minute. I packed nothing to stay the night out there. I wanted to stop and get milk because I didn't want to drive 20 minutes out there, 20 minutes back to get milk, and then 20 minutes back later in the day, right? And I had to pack up my work stuff. Okay. I literally chanted to myself as I'm packing my work stuff, time expands for me to accomplish everything I need to do.
Mm.
Oh, and then I needed to get out there, put the milk in the fridge, go to the store, get to her house, put the milk in the fridge, sit down at the desk, open and load all of my stuff, and connect it all in 1 hour. Okay. I'm literally putting my shit in my backpack. I'm like, time expands. Time expands for me to accomplish everything. Literally on fucking repeat. And if anxiety or stress came up, I was like, no, I got this because I can expand time for me to accomplish the things that I need to. I can expand time for me to accomplish all of the things that I need to. I made it to her house with like 15 minutes to spare and then sat down and was ready. I beat them back from lunch. And I'm like, how is this possible? Because I didn't leave my house until 11:50 or 11:55. It took me what felt, right? Felt like 20 minutes at the grocery store. The drive is legitimately 20 minutes. There is nothing I can do about that drive. Can I speed? Yes. You speed, you only get there a few minutes faster. So it really doesn't save you a lot of time, right? So it's like there was, yes, anxiety, doubt, all of that crept in, but I was like, no, no, because time expands for me to get everything I need to done. I can accomplish everything I need to because time expands for me. And I fucking made it. And I will probably never forget that because that was the most glaringly obvious example to me of like, I really can manipulate the fuck out of time and this is wild. Right. And so it's like another example is, you know, you get lost in a book and you're reading and it feels like you've been reading for 20 minutes. It's been 3 hours. Or you're doing a task that you fucking hate and it feels like it's been an hour and a half and you look at the clock and it's been 2 minutes. And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, what the fuck? Right. So it's like all that to say, like, time is not real. And there was something that you said of like, I don't have enough time in the day working a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sure, if you think like that, then of course you don't have enough time in the day because you're always racing to get to the next place. But like, time expands, Kelsey. You control it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it's funny that you brought up the grandfather clock because I thought about that too when you said that. I saw time, but it's like we've had a lot of like time, right? Like me tapping the watch, like someone's tapping their foot, like, okay, it's time, right? Like the people like it's time. And I think there's something to be said of like us as humans wanting with the instant gratification that we're used to. I want this now. And I'm not saying this to you, I'm just saying in general, right? Like I want this right now without considering divine timing of like we can't know everything and there's always things happening perfectly at the perfect time. But also the clock time that we have as humans constructed ourselves, you can manipulate it. Or you can't based on your belief system. I believe that I can manipulate the fuck out of it and there's always time for me to accomplish everything I need to. Which is why sometimes my days feel so fucking long and I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like, keep going, keep processing, keep creating. It's like, can I go to bed yet? So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah.
That's all I got for
Last
you.
one, because it's got to be three with you.
Yeah.
The one about Orion's belt and then time, and then this just like came through, so three. Then I guess just curiosity with mediumship. And what do I need to know? Or like I know my own resistance, so it's like I feel that and I know it keeps coming through. My questions are vague because I do like to just, whatever you're meant to channel is it.
Are art therapists mediums?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
And I ask that from a place of like not necessarily your belief system, but from a societal construct.
Yeah, no, they're therapists.
Yeah. Boom. That's how I feel.
Ugh.
It's just, yeah. I mean, it's funny, but it feels that simple.
That simple. Well, now I'm just remembering like when I realized like one of the residents said things and they're like, how are you pulling so much information from my art piece? And then I realized I was like, oh, I'm channeling through your art.
Mhm.
And then you were like, I thought you already knew that you did that. Okay. Yeah, that's why it's not art therapy. And that's why it doesn't feel like art therapy for me because they're creating and I'm channeling through their art.
You're trying to fit yourself into this box of what an art therapist does, but it's so much more than that because you have so many more gifts. I'm not saying other art therapists are not gifted. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that
For the
you,
record.
honestly, I'm saying you, Kelsey, have different strengths,
Yeah.
and that is part of
Ugh, shit.
it. So I'm glad I gave you a lot to think about.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that feels good too, because it's like because the traditional mediumship didn't ever really feel right. Because I've been to a couple classes and it was just like, I'm just sitting there and
Mhm.
talking. I'm like, I know I really hate this, or I'm just like, I don't know. It was just, I needed something different. And kind of the same thing with therapy, like art therapy, there was still quite a bit of sitting.
Mhm.
I was just like, I hate this.
Yeah, and you get to decide. You get to make the rules. You get to say what happens, how it goes,
Hmm.
right?
And
So
then
it's a
now
mix
I'm
of
over
art and
here.
mediumship.
Yeah. And now I'm over here like a movement healer where we don't fucking sit.
Yeah,
And
right.
then
So
the
it's
art
varying.
channeling it would just be brief. But yeah, it's not therapy.
Yeah.
And it's not the traditional like sitting and channeling for mediumship either. I think that's what makes it so confusing because it is like it is the gift and the medicine and traditional in that aspect, but the way like it's delivered is not.
Is it confusing or is it just new and it's unknown?
I mean, both. I think it's the confusion is because like that's what I thought, like that's what that was, and if that wasn't where I felt aligned, then that means I wasn't that. If that makes sense.
Mhm. So a detanglement of what the traditional way that each of the fields do something.
You said detanglement, and that was the thing with the Orion's belt was like untangle, and you said three different things. You said you were seeing three different colors, and back then I was viewing it as three different people, but now I'm seeing it as the three different professions or the three different things: the movement, the art, and the mediumship.
LOL, joke's on us.
LOL. Oh Lord.
Yeah, that's all I have though. Nothing else is coming through.
Yeah, those were my questions.
Good. I love that. It feels lighter.
It does. There's like a little anxiety, but I think that's the anxiety of the unknown and that like, oh, here we go now.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's not like a heavy.
good. I'm glad. Well,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. That
Yeah,
one
I'm
is
glad.
finally fucking happening.
Yep. 2 years later.